What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, as promised, I would do two of these a day. And at number five, I have Magic Johnson and Byron Scott. All right. Um, Now I have to kind of penalize them the same way I did Kobe and Derek Fisher and Jordan and Harper, in that one player is infinitely better than the other. Right. But I have them ranked higher than I do Jordan, Harper, and Kobe and Fisher for a couple of reasons. They were together much longer than Jordan and Harper. And while Byron Scott was not an all star, wasn't a Hall of Famer, I do think that he was better than Derek Fisher, at least in my opinion. I think he was better than Derek Fisher. So, and look, when, if you're just a good player and you do your job, and you play next to Magic Johnson, who's the greatest point guard in the history of this game, um, and you win as much as they did, I mean, you're just going to be on this list. Um, the thing about Byron Scott is that he was not a beloved player coming out of Arizona State. When he was drafted in 1983, Byron Scott was a shooting guard, not a combo, not a hybrid. He was a shooting guard. His job was to score. So because of that, the Lakers, also because of the fact that Magic really wanted to move over to the point. There's something I think people forget. When Magic Johnson was drafted in 1979 out of Michigan State, was Michigan State, right? Michigan State. Sometimes I get a little mixed up with him. Um, when he was drafted out of Michigan State, he was a point guard. But the first couple of years, the first 4 years he played in Los Angeles, he technically was a shooting guard, playing alongside a long-time point guard, Norm Nixon, very popular player with the Lakers organization and the fans, especially. Love Norm Nixon. But the Lakers had to make a painful decision. Magic really wanted to be at the point, and they drafted Byron Scott. So they traded him. And a lot of fans took it out on Byron Scott initially, but it didn't last long because Byron Scott proved to be a complete, uh, he proved to be a great fit for the Lakers team. Over the next 8 years, from 1983 to 1991, Byron Scott would average 16 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. He was efficient. He shot 50% from the floor. He was a great foul shooter, shooting 83% during that time period. But most importantly, he was a 38% three-point shooter. He was one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA during that stretch. To give you an idea about how great that was in that era, even in today's era, a guy shooting 38% from three is good. That's good. That's really good. James Harden for his career is like 36.5% or something like that. Even though he has his reputation for being this great knockdown three-point shooter, by league average, he's average. He's average. Byron Scott was shooting 38% in the 80s when the league average was 28%, 30%, 31%. So he was by far better than the league average. So when you got a guy like him who's athletic and quick and fast, and in a fast break situation, he can get alley dunks or get feeds and cuts to the basket and score in that manner, or a pull up three. Byron Scott was a great a great fix for the Lakers. It was a great fit, and he was also no slouch on the defensive end. Now, while Michael Cooper was the best perimeter defender they had, Byron Scott was a really good defender as well. So when you take that into account, uh, Byron Scott being an above-average defender, or today what you call a 3-and-D guy, and you have Michael Cooper being a lockdown defender of the highest caliber, and you're playing alongside the greatest point guard of all time, and playing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's going to lead, and James Worthy, that's going to lead to a lot of wins. Now, together, they won 3 NBA championships, and they appeared in, I believe, 6 finals together, 6 NBA finals. 1984 against Boston, in 85, which they won, in 87, which they won, in 88, which they won, and they became the first team in 29 years at that time. Was it 29 years? No, it was the first team in 19 years, excuse me, to win back-to-back. In 89, Byron Scott and Magic made, well, technically, you know what? You kind of almost don't want to include 89 because I don't think Byron Scott played in that one. Magic did play. Byron might have played. No, I don't think Byron played in 89 at all. So you almost don't want to include 89, but you just put up there anyway. And then in 91, I think Byron was hurt in that one. So when you look at it, you do have to kind of wonder what would have happened if Byron Scott and Magic Johnson were healthy in 89. Yes, they got swept by the Pistons, but those games were not blowouts. And you have to wonder if Byron Scott and Magic were healthy, could have been a different outcome. I don't know. I definitely don't think the Lakers would have got swept. And when you consider that the Lakers were 11-0 going into that series, uh, I don't know, man. Possibly they would have won. In 91, I don't think that would have mattered. I think the Bulls still would have won. But maybe it would have been more like 4-2 or something, which was the standard Bulls spread anyway. But during that time period, Magic Johnson was just simply phenomenal. From 1983 to 1991, Magic Johnson averaged 20.4 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, an absurd 12.4 assists per game, and 1.7 steals. Magic Johnson, of course, is a 5-time NBA champion. He appeared in 9 separate NBA finals. He was a 3-time regular season MVP, 3-time finals MVP, a 12-time All-Star, and would have been more had his career not ended because of his illness. He was a 2-time All-Star game MVP. 4 times he led the league in assists per game. Probably would have continued if it wasn't for the arrival of John Stockton. And twice, Magic Johnson, who has always been chided for not being a great defender, twice he led the NBA in steals per game. So to me, this is the 5th greatest NBA backcourt of all time. Feel free to disagree, but to me, this is the 5th greatest NBA backcourt of all time. Magic Johnson and Byron Scott.